Hi everyone, I'm Sam Schaefer, owner of Titanium Archery Products. Today we're going to go over our all-new adjustable, fully adjustable cable guard system for the PSE Carbon Levitate and Carbon Mach 34. This system is designed specifically for these bows, and I will discuss removal of factory parts and then installation of our product. First, let me discuss though what the system gives to you. So people often ask questions of me regarding our products, things along the lines of why would I need this? Why would I want this? What will this offer to me over the factory part? So I answer those questions always to the fullest of my ability. And I will tell you that everything we put out does offer substantial differences, improvements over what the factory part does. And if it doesn't offer significant improvements, why would I even manufacture and offer it? So everything we do is going to give you a clear advantage in at least several areas. So in this case, I'll real quickly here show you a factory cable guard. So this is actually just the factory riser portion. I had already installed a titanium rod in this part when I got this bow, but this is the factory coupler, that's what I call it. So this is a fixed position cable guard system. What does that mean? It means that it has no ability to adjust laterally. It can't be removed in the sense that the rod itself is fixed. It is bonded in place. So if you wanted to make adjustments through your cable guard system, which, if you don't already know, can offer a really useful additional tool to you in gaining better tuning from your bow. It is not necessarily the first thing you would turn to, but it is one of the things that you're going to want to consider when you're first setting up tuning, and then as you go on with fine tuning. So what I tend to do almost in all cases with cable guards is, it is one of the first steps that I look at, and I will make sure my cables are running very close to my vanes. About 1/16 of an inch of visible clearance when you look down the back of the arrow is really all you need, and that helps me right off the bat to have lower amount of tension on my cables, less cam lean, and it puts it in a better overall position to deliver energy in a nice straight transfer through the arrow. That, I believe, is essential. So this cable guard system that we offer now does give you the ability to make all these horizontal adjustments. You can go over to the right and put more tension on, or you can reduce. Now the factory position of the Levitate and 34, they have the cables pulled over pretty stressed. They are pulled over further, in my opinion, than they need to be. I think, just my theory on this, is that they are, in a sense, foolproofing it so that all vanes that are out there are going to have clearance, and they're placing it at a location, I guess, that they are confident that most people can gain tuning through arrow rest adjustment, through proper arrow spine, etc., shimming cams, putting spacers in, taking them out. There's different ways to gain the tuning that you want, but this is, in my opinion, an essential one to have in your toolbox, is the ability to adjust your cable guard. And now let's look at the fact too that we have the titanium rod that you get with this system. So we've been selling those for years because people don't like the carbon rods. They want to get them out. So that's what brought about even looking into a method of how to get this carbon rod out of this part. And that's why I put out the video about a year ago with the heat gun and removing that part, putting the titanium piece in place. But it still didn't give you the lateral / horizontal adjustment ability. This does. So first thing is, take this thing off. It's really simple. First thing you want to do, get the tension off your cables. So pop the cables out of the cable slide, the factory cable slide. Maybe you already have one of our Titan slides. I have one right here. Same thing applies, of course. You're going to be moving the cables from the rollers. So get that off the rollers. Now you have tension removed from the cable guard system. And I'll put it back on here so it's against the riser. And then, of course, you have two pegs They fit into the riser holes, and there's a screw. So remove the screw, and then you can pull the fitting right out of the pegs right out of those holes, and you can do whatever you like with that factory part. It sits on my shelf now. That's what it does. So we're going to move on to what you would get from us, what it's going to look like when you receive the product from us. So what it's going to look like is this. This is one of the Levitate systems. It has a shorter titanium rod than the 34 does. You'll get it with these pieces already assembled. There's set screws right here that can be loosened that will allow you to pull that rod out. So to put the cable slide onto the rod, you do need to loosen those screws because the cap is bonded in place. So you can't get the cable slide over top of it. So first thing you're going to want to do is loosen the set screws because I will have them tightened when you receive this. And then you pull the cable guard rod out. So once that's out, then you can move on to putting the riser module. That's what I call this part here. I call this part the riser module. You can then move on to putting that in against the riser. And as you can see here, I have my vapor trail rest in place still, and I don't need to get that out of the way to do this install. It's really pretty simple to get it in behind there. So I put the pegs into the holes, and then we're going to install the screw that comes with ours. So with ours, you have a button head screw, stainless steel, and 2 washers that are included. Now this is important to note that the washers, you can see probably here, that one is slightly smaller in diameter than the other. The smaller one should go on the screw first, followed by the larger diameter washer. And then you're going to run screw through into the riser threads. I like to try to center the washers nicely. It doesn't matter though, one way or the other, if they are or they aren't. And then tighten down. I don't have a torque amount on this. It's not that high. You don't need to put a ton of pressure on these. Just to the point that you feel like, okay, I'm getting a good bit of resistance. Maybe go, another 16th or so, 1/8 of a rotation beyond that, and it will strongly resist rotating at that point. So that's now holding that in against the riser. The racket is tightly pulled against the riser. The pegs are in the holes. That's very secure at that point. So with the cable guard rod out, you can now put the cable slide onto the rod, put the rod back into the fitting. So for a right hand bow, which mine is, this is what the cable slide should look like with the TAP logo here. This roller should be extended out further. The other one, of course, is slightly back, protrudes back behind it because of the staggered holes. For a right-hand shooter with a PSE bow, this is the orientation you would need. You can take these rollers out with a Allen wrench, 332 size, and you can remove the roller easily and swap positions because these are staggered holes. You can swap the positions of the rollers if you're a left-handed shooter. That's what you would do. So put the cable guard rod in. The set screws on the coupler are also 332 Allen. Tighten down on those. Again, this is common sense. I don't think I have to tell people that it's not a good idea to over muscle screws. You only need them as tight as is sufficient to hold parts in place. So cable slides in place. Now you can push your cables back onto your rollers. It's really easy to do, and everything is set at that point. People often say, do I need a press? How hard is this install? Well, you can just see right here, this was not difficult. This was very simple. Once cable tension is against the rod like it is now, this is pulling over hard against that rod. That even further tightens the entire assembly here because you're pulling against it, and the screw has an even harder time of rotating because of that additional tension. So if you wanted to, and I do tell people that this is a useful tool to have, a 1/4 inch drive socket wrench. You can see here this is a 1/8 inch Allen drive bit on there. You could tighten it further with that, but I don't believe it's necessary. You saw in this case, I just used a T-handle, and I got it as tight as I felt was reasonable. and then I applied the tension from the cables, and everything stays in place. But if you felt there was an issue, if you saw it becoming loose, you could go a lot tighter with something like this. But again, you have to think about what a fastener is capable of handling, and then not try to exceed that for the given scenario you're in. So everything's in place. One thing I want to mention about this product, for left-handed shooters, this is important to note as well. So for left-handed shooters, we didn't design an entirely different mirror opposite part. So this can very well be used on a left-handed bow, but in order to do that, you have to flip it over. So when you get it from us, it's set up in an orientation and it'll go in against the riser of a right-handed bow. To get that to work on a left-handed bow, the product must simply be flipped over. Then it'll work on that side of the bow. It'll come in on the side. Of course, this is my rest side, the shooter side on a right-hander. But on the left, it would be coming in from here. That will then place it in the orientation it needs to be so you can make it work. The set screw that's on the top of it that allows you to do the horizontal adjustment will be on the bottom. Still accessible. You still can reach under there with an Allen wrench and make adjustments. You also can make adjustments off the bow and then put it back onto the bow if you wanted to do it that way. The TAP logo that is on here, on the other side of this part, will be upside down then, of course, for a left-hander. But there is no loss of functionality, there is no loss of performance or impact on that in any way. The reason, again, I did this is, well, it's simply a cost matter. I don't think we could really afford to do a left and right-handed version, given how, this is a small company. I run things on a really tight basis, and I really closely examine all of my costs. So about 1 out of 10 people roughly is a left-hander. It doesn't make sense for about 10% to make a completely mirror opposite version of this part. So that's why. If it becomes wildly popular over time, then perhaps, yes, we could look at doing that. So at this point, that sums it up. It's an easy install. There's the things that I mentioned here that are worth repeating, in that how you tighten fasteners is important. Making sure various parts are aligned nicely when you put them in. You want to have, of course, the cable guard rod out before you actually do the assembly there. It makes it easier. If you have questions, you can always reach out. The best way to get me, truthfully, at this point in time, by far the best way to get me is Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can text, and you can text anytime, and I may or may not answer outside those hours. But within those hours, I'm almost always within minutes replying back to people. 717-814-9169. taparchery.com is the site. Again, this product really does give you advantages: reduced cam lean, smoother draw cycle, tunability that exceeds any other fixed cable guard system. You simply can't get it with fixed cable guards. That tunability aspect is completely removed from your list of options when it's fixed. This is not. So thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I appreciate your support tremendously. It means everything to me to know that we're this grassroots company and that we continue to get support from everyday archers that are out there that are like me. We have to have a passion for this, and it's just so meaningful, and I'll never forget what got us on the track to success and what's keeping us on it. Stay tapped out.